Hello YouTube, Mucklick here, and I have thoughts to share. All right, so we were trying to learn Heal Renegade today. Going down the list of healers, I was trying to learn the basics of all of them. Got to Mirage and Catalyst, and I'm gonna be honest, I could not even find a Mirage heal guide. I think someone was memeing me when they told me this was a real thing, because I've never seen it. And I looked it up, I couldn't find anything on it. Heal Catalyst, I found one guide on Meta Battle from years ago, and it basically had one review, and it said 4 stars, but only for 2 fights in the game. Everywhere else I would not use this. And I was just like, okay, this looks like an absolute pain to learn, and no one wants it, so I'm not gonna worry about that. So then we get to the last one, which is Renegade, which I was putting off until March 19th, which is today, is right now, is the 19th for me. You'll be seeing this in the future, and it just got reworked. The spirits work differently now. They work similar to Ranger spirits, so they appear, they do a thing, and then they dip out. So I tried to learn Heal Renegade. Now, I didn't know how to play the old Heal Renegade, much less the new one. So I did my best. I'm sure there's some things here that could be done better. So for now, I've got quickness on me from the console. We have got a second tier agony field, and we got a dummy here. So I am going to run in here. I'm going to summon Soul Cleaver, and then I'm going to summon Break Razor just for this, F2 and F4, just to get some might and alacrity up. I'm gonna start meleeing with the Scepter. Going to do like another random spirit here, and then swap builds. We're going to hit R and then T for Purifying Essence. That'll make sense in a bit. I'll talk about this in a little while. Alacrity, and then T again, and we'll do the 4 just for prot, and then swap out of this. F2 for might. Soul Cleaver again, and do some random spirits here. I'm trying to just burn some energy. And then we'll swap back again. And okay, so look at our boons. We got regen, we got some resolution, we got some prot, we got fury, might was mostly covered, alacrity, and some vigor. Now, let's talk about this. So I've learned the basics of keeping that up. Let's take this bit by bit. Okay, first of all, might. You keep about 10 stacks up, occasionally 20, by spamming heroic command on cooldown. The rest of it came from auto attacking with the scepter. So I had to sit scepter quite a bit. Fury, very easy. Right here, every time you crit, you give Fury to yourself and those around you, and it's like 95% uptime just from that. So very easy to keep Fury up, just keep swinging. Protection, it's kind of a pain. Your shield 4 gives some prot, and each of the summoned cats gives a few seconds of prot. So if you can get a bunch of them out, you just need to keep summoning them as much as you can, and you'll keep the prot up. But it's like, you get a little here, 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 and a little here. So you gotta hit a lot of extra buttons, and if you're forced to use Shield 4 to keep the prot up, then you don't have Aegis on demand. I believe Shield 4 is your only Aegis on demand, so that kind of sucks. Regeneration. This is the absolute worst class in the game at keeping regen up, I believe. So what you have to do is, when you're in combat, if you swap to Centaur, one of your traits will give you 8 seconds of regen. That's only enough to last until you leave Centaur. If you use well, for me it's the 9 skill. If you use this, it gives you 5 seconds of regen. So you're in each legend for 10 seconds. So when you swap to Centaur, you get 10 seconds of regen. Then you use this twice, so you get 5, and then you hit it again for 5 again, that's 20, before leaving. And that's exactly enough to last until you get back into Centaur, assuming you're swapping as often as possible. Every time you hit this is 25 energy. Just keeping Alac and Might up, and that up, like, look, I can't even hit it again. I don't have enough energy yet. There, I'm at 0. So forget everything else on the bar. Just keeping those 3 boons up when you're in Centaur is very draining. Like, forget every other button on the bar, just those up is difficult. So regen, it is possible to keep it up. It is worse than every other class I've played as far as keeping that 1 boon up. Prot is not as bad as some, but better. It's better than some, worse than others. It's kind of middle ground for keeping prot up. You keep hitting buttons, you'll keep the prot up, that's okay. Like I said, the Fury's easy. You keep self-vigor up permanently, because every time you give yourself Fury, you give yourself vigor, but the vigor is not for the whole group. So this is, you'll always have vigor on yourself, but your party will not always have vigor. The rest of it, for example, if you're using Kala and Centaur, the only source of group stability is the exploding the tablet. So like if I've got the tablet here, oh, also, you have to explode it when you're empowered. So let's say the stability moment is coming up, and you're swinging at an enemy, and you're like, oh, I need the stability. You explode the tablet, but I'm not empowered, so it doesn't give stability. Resummon the tablet, and then explode it again, and this time I'm empowered, and we got 3 stacks. So 1, that took like 4 or 5 seconds. 2, I had to summon the tablet multiple times. And 3, that took a lot of energy doing that twice back to back. And if you're not in Centaur, muck you. So stability is on the build, it's awful to use. Also, they have to be near the tablet. So like, let's say you're moving, you gotta make sure the tablet is in front of them and it blows up as they're passing it. It was an issue with Herald too, but Herald can more easily bring, I think, Dwarf Stance than it feels like the Renegade could. I could be wrong, I'm the new guy here. But that's stability. So the only Aegis is on the Shield 4, and if you are flubbing the Prot, you have to use the Shield 4 to keep the Prot up, and then you don't have Aegis on demand. The only stability on demand is blowing up the tablet if you are not good at, planning positioning and being empowered at the right moment. That is a pain. Kala helps with Prot. Like, look, Prot, that 1 second of stability is self-only. I tested that around other people in the aerodrome. It is self-only. Some resistance, and Prot, and some resolution. So you're getting almost no boons from Renegade except Fury, which, Herald got the Fury from somewhere else. So basically every single boon, except Alacrity, which Herald cannot provide Alacrity, Herald provides quickness, every single boon is more easily kept up by Herald than Renegade. Every single one of them. So it works, and the healing's there. Like, when you're in a field, like, the Soul Cleave Summit healing is pretty severe. So, like, hold on, let me run in here for a second.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, so this is a medium damage field. You see my health going down. I'm gonna summon Soul Cleave, and I'm just gonna auto. I do not have regen, okay? Look at my hands. Now, that is group-wide. The entire group is healing themselves as they attack. That's because of Soul Cleave, okay? So it is very strong, but it is in a confined area, so it does do substantial healing while your group is stacked on the boss. And so that is effectively your big healing while you're in the Kala stance. In the Centaur stance, everything on the bar is a heal button. And then, of course, you could swap to the staff, and you've got a lot of healing on the staff. However, if you don't have the scepter in hand, your Might and Fury could suffer because you're using the scepter as a crutch for those. So for the first time after learning the basics of a build in any of these videos, I did not go to Raids or Strikes with this, because I was like, guys, this looks awful. Maybe it's just me, again, I am the new guy here. I could just be looking at this and I'm just intimidated by how difficult it looks, but I did the rotation a few times on the dummy, having to hit 5 different buttons to keep Prot up, having to hit 4 different buttons with an extremely tight rotation to keep regen up. Sometimes my healing is based on lifestealing and stacking, sometimes it's just based on being the same zip code as me. Sometimes I, had Aegis on demand, and sometimes I didn't. Sometimes I could stability in 1 second, but other times it took a 6-second setup to give stability. It all was pretty rough. Compare that to Druid or Chrono or Tempest. When they need to give their group stability, they just tap 1 key, and 1 pulse of it goes out. And it's really easy, they can handle situations like this. But for this thing, you gotta wait 6 weeks shipping. So in my time playing the game, the last time Support Renegade really shined was when its Alacrity hit 10 people. Some of you may remember that. So in a group of 10 people, rather than current days, you've got 2 healers, 2 boon DPS, and then 6 DPS. It used to be one of the boon DPS was a Alac Renegade, and they gave Alacrity to 10 people, and then you would have 2 healers that provided quickness, and boom, all boons for all 10 people were done. And then you could have 7 DPS instead of 6 in the party. Now, similar to Druid, once upon a time, they reduced the Alacrity from 10 targets down to 5, and, it's become much less of a thing since then. This is my first time visiting mine in ages. Yeah, someone in my chat said it was not brought for much else besides the Alacrity. That is true. I mean, it was sometimes brought for the excellent stability of the Centaur Road, or the bubble for like fights in was it Cardinal Adena, I believe, it has like the earth shards. The bubble is so good for that fight, and a few other things as well. But overall, it was brought for the 10 mana lack, and it doesn't have that anymore. But it still doesn't have easy access to all those other boons that the other healers provide. So yeah, that's this. You can play this build. It is viable. I showed you how incredibly easy it is to put out healing while AFK, essentially. Like, I literally went over there and I was in the agony field on tier 2 and just auto attacking, and it was healing a lot. I wasn't hitting any other buttons, which means if you turned up the dial even higher, this can put out some healing. It does provide the essential boons, but it's like pulling teeth compared to every other supports. And again, this is, I have been going through, spending 3 to 5 hours on every one of these. I didn't know. This is the one that is the most difficult to keep the boons up, hands down. Like, I said recently that Spectre felt awful to me to play because of the rotation. It did, but keeping the boons up on that was easier than this, because on this one, their durations are very short. So you're constantly tapping keys, and you've got to keep your the rotation is very tight. Like if you flub the one of the regen skills by a second, it will fall off. And regeneration is the strongest source of healing for most of the classes in the game. Because like think of all the bosses where the mechanics where like maybe everyone gets a red circle and you all split up and then you explode and then you run back together. That regen's healing that whole time. Most of the other heals from the healer, everyone is just out of range and then they come back together and then he catches them back up. But the regen is going 24/7 for your average healer. For this guy, not so much. Utility wise, what do we have? You know, we've got the block projectiles as long as you're better than me at energy planning. You do have A stability. It takes a lot of setup though. You've got another block with this if you need it. So you could absolutely, you know, tank the bosses where you need blocks like Deimos. It's totally easy to do that. If you're going to rely on the Otherworldly Bond, you would need to use that hotkey where you target a nearby ally to fire this off because it's a PETA. You know, Staff has the absolutely massive CC that it has a reputation for. So you've got that in your back pocket when you need it. And then Kala has some interesting stuff. For example, Razor Claw's Rage, when you summon this bad boy, your group, the whole group, their next 4 attacks inflict bleeding. So, you know, that's a unique burst of damage that no one else has anything like that. I love that in theory. I love that you just like hurl this at a group of people and their damage spikes in a Condi way. I'm not sure how it works though. Like assuming it scales with their damage, then if you use that on people that are power, it'd be crap. But if you use it on people that are Condi, it'd be awesome. I'm guessing it works that way. Then Ice Razor's Ire is just a whole bunch of different Condis, you know, stuff like that. Dark Razor's Daring is a CC, and then it's 1 second of stability for you. It's a stun break, but only when it's enhanced. Actually, I'm not even sure of that. There was something else that we found out earlier that was really weird. I'm going to try to take a screenshot here and I'm going to pull up MS. Oh, I still have it from earlier. So we thought earlier where it says when enhanced and then underneath it is a whole bunch of stuff. I thought earlier that all of this was together. It's not. It's this. See, I thought it's only when enhanced it gives prot, but it's not. It's only when enhanced it does chill, and then the prot is no matter what. It doesn't have to be enhanced for the prot part. So because of that, you know, some of these are rather misleading. So this might be a stun break all the time, but then the resistance is only there when it's enhanced. It could be a little bit better written, but hey, at least it's not going off the top of the screen or something silly like that. Nog says it's based on your Condi, like Thief Venom Share. If that is the case, then that makes it worse, because a support Renegade would usually be using something with high healing power, not high condition damage. Or, well, we're just talking healers right now. So, I don't know. If you had a Condi DPS, like a lack DPS, if you had a Condi a lack DPS Renegade, then something like this would be really, really unique and interesting, I think. But outside of that, I'm not sure. Like Plague Doctors or something like that. But yeah, anyway, that's my experiences and that's my thoughts as a experienced support player who's new to Renegade, who's kind of, you know, peeking in from the outside and trying it out for an hour and seeing how it feels and comparing it to the other things I know about. I'm very curious from other Renegade players who are watching this. Do you think I hit the nail on the head? Do you think like, oh yeah, those are some problems with our class? Or did all this come down to just me looking at it and not understanding how to play it? That's fair criticism too. But let's see, I was using full Harrier's gear. This is what I had. There's one item here with the wrong stats. With the staff, I had 95% boon duration. I was using Monk Relic, Monk Runes, Sigil of Concentration and Transference, and this was the build. And again, I had to find a build from a dated guide and tinker with it because no one's really been posting content about this in quite some time. But yeah, that's it. Let me know what your thoughts are, and I will fight you in the comments down below.